Hello everyone and welcome to another really awesome game from the final round of the FIDE Candidates Tournament. It is Rapport versus Teimour Radjabov, and we said that we will cover at least one more game at show the final standings. In the previous video that we've shown, one of the games was still going on, the Alireza versus Fabi game. For those of you who don't know, Fabi lost that game and he had a really rough second half of the tournament. First half of the tournament, Caruana played brilliantly, but in the second half, he just fell apart, probably trying to catch up to Nepo, who was just getting seemingly effortless wins, and it didn't work out for him, and then he just started losing games. But okay, this is another game. It is Rapport versus Radjabov, so let's see what happened in this one, and also here's a nice photo of them before the actual game. There you have it. I'm not sure who the gentleman making the first move for Rapport is. If any of you know, do share in the comments section below. And also one thing to notice is that for some games Rapport comes in completely black and white, and on some games he comes in a very colorful edition, like we've had in that one game where you guys couldn't decide if that was a red color, rose color, or a salmon color. But yeah, seemingly he does perform better in cheerful colors. But okay, getting back to the game, Rapport has the white pieces and he opens with e4. Sorry about that. We have e5 by Radjabov, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5. He goes for the, not for the Italian bishop to b5, he goes for the Ruy Lopez, knight to f6, the Berlin defense, again in this tournament, and now d3. Because it's been kind of a theme of this candidates tournament, whoever lost a game playing the Berlin defense. So bishop to c5, we have bishop captures, d captures, and knight b to d2. So nothing new here, this has all been played before. Bishop to e6, and here castles. If any of you are still wondering why not capture the c5 pawn, we've shown it quite a few times, but queen d4 and you can resign, so hopefully none of you were considering this. So here we have castles, and now of course that the king is safe, the e5 pawn can be captured, so just the bishop back to d6. You could also play queen to d6, but Radjabov prepared bishop to d6, knight to b3, and now the position is a known one. It's been played before between some very strong grandmasters, but interestingly it's also been played in round 1 of this candidates tournament between Fabiano Caruana and Hikaru Nakamura. Nakamura went queen to e7, and Fabi won that game very early on in the tournament. But here, not queen to e7, here Radjabov plays c5, and it is now as of move 8 that we have a completely new game, which is complete madness in a Berlin defense for move 8 to have a completely new game. But okay, here it's pretty standard when you have doubled pawns. You just want to push one of them and trade it off for your opponent's undoubled pawn, so that way you get rid of a doubled pawn. But also for the moment you have complete control over that d4 square, so you don't have to worry about any d4 coming soon. So knight to a5. Here Rapport wants to play b3 and put the knight on c4. So if black ever decides to capture, you can play b captures on c4, still control the center and have a nice semi-open b file for your rook. And here you can't go b6. If you go b6 right away, then knight c6 is well, just game over. On this level you attack the queen, and also once the queen moves, you're gonna win that e5 pawn. So queen to c8 guarding the b pawn, and now pawn to b3, like we said, preparing knight to c4, castles by Radjabov, and bishop to b2, nicely fianchettoing the dark square bishop. We have bishop to g4, and now knight to c4, putting pressure on this bishop, rook to e8, and now we have pawn to a4. So just nicely expanding. Bishop to h5 looks like a weird move, but Radjabov wants to play knight to d7. He wants to move the f pawn and then put the bishop on f7 to shift it over to this diagonal. So queen to e2, we have knight to d7, and now queen to e3, hoping to infiltrate with queen to g5. So queen to d8, stopping this, and now king to h1. And now when you see a move like king to h1 without the, well, sort of even a long-term possibility of a queen or a dark square bishop getting to this diagonal, you know what's coming. Rook to g1 and the g4 is coming, so Rapport does not have, you know, a peaceful game in mind. So here f6, strengthening the e5 pawn, also preparing bishop back to to f7, and then now comes rook to g1. And you don't have to play it like this. You could also play knight to h4. Now you control d squares nicely. You can play f4 next. You want to try and open up this diagonal for the dark square bishop. So there are many ways to play this, and this is perfectly fine for white. But that's just not Rapport's style, and that's why we enjoy Rapport's game so much. Rook to g1, preparing g4, bishop back to f7, and Rapport still goes g4. Now he wants to play g5, captures, and open up the g file for the rook. So here Radjabov plays h6, which kind of stops g5, but it also weakens the light squares quite a lot. So again, knight to h4 is definitely a move to consider, but that's just not Rapport's style. Like Tal, he wants the attack to happen as soon as possible, and he starts the attack right away with the g5. And now what can you play here? Obviously, you have to capture this pawn. It's a free pawn, but what to capture it with? Well, h captures on g5 seems to be the way to go, but Radjabov plays f captures on g5, which is also perfectly fine if Rapport continues playing in his style. But here, h4 seems to be the way to tackle this. This will again allow you to open up the g file, and you don't have to sacrifice pieces. You've already sacrificed some pawns, but again, that's just not Rapport's style. He plays knight captures on g5, h captures on g5, and rook captures on g5. Putting now pressure on that g7 pawn, and you know that rook 8 to g1 is coming. And Radjabov doesn't deem it necessary to remove the knight from c4. It's a potential attacker, and well, Rapport just sacrificed some material, so he says the bishop will be useful here. So here, bishop, queen to f6, bishop of course will come to f8. To guard this pawn here, but maybe that's one of the reasons that you could capture the knight, simply not to allow knight captures bishop, because this bishop really wants to come to f8. But okay, rook 8 to g1, putting pressure here, and now bishop back to f8. And now it's a really crazy position, depending on how long you allow the engine to crunch the numbers, you either get a 0 0 0 0 0, or you get a completely winning position for white or for black, depending on what move you play. But it's something that Anish Giri said perfectly during the coverage of the final round. He said that it doesn't matter if the engine shows like -half or -1 or -1.5 or -2 or even -2.5. The position is either lost or it's a draw. It doesn't matter. If it's lost, then it's -100 or -1000, and if it's a draw, then it's 0.00. Doesn't matter what the engine is saying. It can either be won by force or it can't. So it's listening to the engine saying, oh, it's a 1.5, 2.5. It's either winning or it's not. So also something to consider maybe when preparing for your games or evaluating positions. And here we have queen to h3, or no, queen to h3 is definitely something Rapport spent quite some time calculating, because it's incredibly tricky. You of course want to put more pressure on that g file, but just to show you quickly what would happen, bishop to e6, we would now of course win a tempo, and then grab the knight, queen g2, put pressure on the g7 pawn, bishop captures, b captures, and now rook e7. Add another defender here, and you get this position where it's not easy to find moves. Let's say rook g6 attacks the queen, queen to h4, and now bishop to c1, going after that queen, or you could just repeat rook g4, queen f6, and so on. But if you want to continue, let's say bishop c1, rook to f7, now attacking the f2 pawn, f3, and now rook to e8. And finally, after rook to h6, because that's why you put the bishop on c1 to go after the queen, queen to e7, and now queen h3, threatening checkmate, but now rook to f6. And now you've created this f7 escape square for the king, and the game of course continues. It's quite a wild game on. Of course, if queen h5, we just captured the rook, so it's not a problem. So that's one of the possibilities. It doesn't bring all that much to white, so Rapport tries rook to f5. We have queen to h4 by Radjabov, and now knight to d2. One would expect that now that Rapport played this rook to f5, that he would go after the e5 pawn, and it's also possible, for example, knight capture captures, knight captures. We just trade everything, bishop captures, but now Radjabov would have this brilliant rook captures on e5 move that just eliminates a very important attacker, and after rook captures, bishop to d6, and now the rook cannot move because of checkmate here. And if you play queen g5, offering a queen trade, threatening checkmate, hoping for a queen captures and rook captures, just queen h7. Again, you prevent the rook from moving because of checkmate, and now after f4 is played, this is all forced. Captures, captures, you get this position where black will always be a little bit better. Black is up a piece, and even though, okay, those pawns are looking a bit scary, nothing to worry about. So Rapport does not like his chances there. He tries to go the other way. Knight to d2, now he wants knight f3, knight to g5, and then hopefully checkmate the black king. But now rook e6. Now the other rook is coming to help out with the defense and also with the attack. f4, finally trying to open up this diagonal, but just rook to g6. Now threatening rook captures on g1. Knight f3, attacking the queen here, and queen to h3 by Radjabov. You could also play the forcing rook captures on g1. We can show it because it's very nice. And now queen to h6. Asking white, what do you play here? But there really isn't all that much. For example, if f captures on e5, bishop g6, and the rook now doesn't really have good squares. If you go rook g5, then bishop h5, and that's it. The knight is hanging. Once you defend it, we just capture it. Captures, captures, rook e8. There's no point in continuing this. White is just down a piece. That knight was sacrificed without any serious compensation. So instead we have queen to h3, and now f captures on e5, rook captures on g1, queen captures, and now bishop to h5. So a similar attempt. Knight to g5. Finally the knight comes to this square, attacks the queen here, and you have to move the queen, and you have to move it well, otherwise it's not going to be a winning position anymore. However, it's not all that problematic to see what happens if you play something like queen h4. Then e6, and now all of a sudden you have problems. The bishop comes alive, the knight is hanging, and for example, if knight f6, we can just capture. Knight captures, g captures, now knight f3 check, and the black loses the queen. So the queen is not very well placed on h4. So queen to g4 was played, offering a queen trade, and now not a lot of good moves for Rapport. He of course avoids the queen trade, and now bishop to e7. Putting pressure on the knight here. Pawn to e6, the bishop finally comes alive, but now rook to f8. And what can you play here? Obviously, you might consider capturing this knight because it's a free piece, so why not? But after rook captures on f5 and e captures on f5, bishop captures on g5, attacking the queen, and you don't have to worry as the e8 square is covered. And also, if you try something like this, maybe to pick up the bishop and then bring another queen into the game, we will of course do no such thing. We're just going to play king to h7, and now the position is winning. Doesn't really matter what you do because white is getting checkmated. You could bring another queen into the game, doesn't really matter, just queen f3 check, and now it's just check, and you get checkmated. Queen captures, this comes with check, king to g2, bishop f3 check, king g3, bishop e2 check. It's a very well-known checkmating pattern, so of course no mysteries here. So that's what happens if you go after the knight. It's a very tricky move, but knight to f7 was played here, and now Radjabov just plays bishop captures on f7, as it doesn't really make all that much difference. E captures not on f7 but on d7. The capturing on f7 isn't all that impressive either. If you capture here, just rook captures, and again, there's nothing for white to look for here. White is just down material. So instead, e captures on d7 was played, and now bishop to e6 by Teimour, and it was in this position on move 33 that Richard Rapport resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Everything is hanging. There is nothing to continue the game for. If you go for this with check, king captures, again, not much to look for. One check, king g8, and again, you can't continue. You're down a full bishop, and that's just it. So yeah, really wonderful game by both Rapport and Radjabov. Rapport always goes for the win. He always tries to play the most beautiful chess possible, and in this position, for example, after h6, not going for the standard knight to h4, which pretty much everyone would do, just winning the light squares, pushing f4, trying to open up the bishop. He just goes g5, just full barbarian approach. I love it. But yeah, against very strong opponents, it doesn't work all the time, but sometimes it works, and then you get a Morphy head for your efforts. So yeah, really nice reputation by Radjabov, and very clean execution in the end. Only 33 moves, so very good stuff. And so we don't forget, now that all of the games have finished, these are the final standings of the FIDE Candidates Tournament 2022. So let's check it out. The winner is Jan Nepomniachtchi, who won the tournament a full round ahead of the end of the tournament. So he only needed 13 rounds, and he won it with 9.5 points. And that's 5 wins, 9 draws, and 0 losses. Incredible result. The only player undefeated in the tournament. Ding Liren in second place with 8 points. He did lose 2 games, but he won 4, so good for him. With 7.5, we have a tie between Radjabov and Hikaru Nakamura. With 6.5, Fabiana Caruana, who you can see got 4 losses, and all of those 4 losses were in the second half of the tournament. So tough break for Fabi. He had a brilliant start, but then messed it up in the end. Alireza again had a very slow start in the first half, but then he started winning in the second half, and in the end he got 6th place, and sharing last place Jan Krzysztof Duda and Richard Rapport with 5.5 points. So there we have it. Those are the final standings. Really incredible stuff. As you know, Jan Nepomniachtchi now has the right to challenge Magnus Carlsen for the title, and if Magnus will play, that will be the match. However, if Magnus decides not to play for whatever reason, I don't know if I mentioned this, Magnus did meet with Arkady Dvorkovich, the FIDE president, during his stay in Madrid, I believe 2 days ago, where some terms were probably discussed. I don't know if any information regarding this conversation was made public. Not, to my knowledge, it was not, but I will keep you guys informed. So they did meet. What they discussed, who knows, but probably it had something to do regarding the match. So if Magnus will not play, then Jan Nepomniachtchi will face Ding Liren for the title of FIDE World Champion. Now, of course, everyone wants Magnus to play, because it's not fair to Jan if he just it wouldn't be fair to Jan if he was just awarded the title, like Karpov was when he was playing against Fischer. Fischer said he will not play, and then Karpov just became world champion, and then you had to prove for years and years that you are worthy, and that people will at least start taking you seriously. Of course, Karpov achieved that, but it took quite some time. But here, okay, even if Magnus doesn't play and Nepo has to play against Ding, I mean, even if you beat Ding in a classical match, you deserve to be world champion, because no one can claim that they will be able to do that, even once. So yeah, the future is definitely exciting. We'll see what it brings, good stuff, good stuff, whatever happens. So yeah, that's the game and this short coverage of the tournament. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And now we are going to check out some of your suggestions. I've seen you guys have been sending me emails with the game suggestions and such, and also I'm planning on continuing the sagas. The next saga is the Wilhelm Steinitz saga. Of course, it makes sense as it comes after Paul Morphy. So we're gonna make one video. I still have to make the conclusion to the Morphy saga, because Morphy just abruptly stopped playing chess, and then he never played again. Aside from some games where he gave odds of a move and a pawn. But yeah, we're gonna discuss what happened with Morphy and why he stopped playing, and then we will start the Steinitz saga. So yeah, once again, really hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Gregory Thomas, Gideon Franklin, Jim Tren, Surya Manikandan, and Michael Kalberer for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.